I have been doing a series on Sunday mornings entitled the I Am series. And this morning I want to share with you the words that Jesus gave when he said, I am the light of the world. Your pastor is sort of a science nut. All right, yes. It may be a weakness, it may be a personality trait, I'm not sure just what it is, but I was a natural science major when I went to college because I loved figuring out how things worked and how it operated, and I wanted to know the mechanisms that made things work. Light is a unique element in nature, and I get all giddy-fied when I start talking about light, because it is very close to my heart, very close to my passion. Would you let me read for you, along with you, the words from the first chapter of the Gospel of John, verses 1 to 14, as John tells us about how the light came into the world. I'd like to read for you, if you would. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made, and without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness of the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. I want you to understand the Gospel of John is my heart gospel. It's the one I'm tied to the closest. And the reason why I'm tied to the Gospel of John so tightly is because he is following exactly the pattern of the Old Testament Jewish Torah and law. Okay? Well, you say, well, that doesn't sound normal. He's in the New Testament, right? So why is he following the Old Testament law? Because he knew the Old Testament law was inspired by God, and he wanted to follow that pattern. Well, read for me just for a second. Here, let me just read how, this is the beginning passages of Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Oh, that sounds ominous. The word they use in here is chaos. Have you ever had chaos in your life? You ever felt like you were in chaos? You had no idea what wave was going to hit you next and knock you sideways and swamp your little boat? But God had a plan. Here's what it says. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. And he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning of the first day. God started with light. John begins his gospel of Jesus Christ by saying, here he is to be the light. I'll unpack that just a little bit. John is a gospel that has a lot of detail. Got a lot of detail. He has 7 miraculous signs of what Jesus did to prove he was divine, to prove he was God's Son. Are you aware that John writes about Jesus being the light 7 times through his gospel? There are 7 different times when John stops for a second, stops everything, and talks about Jesus being the light. And as strange as it seems, we can look outside, not today, it's cloudy and overcast, that's not, and we can look directly into the sun, we can look into the brightest light we have, and that little thing right there is made up of the same stuff as the brightest star ever created in the heavens. It's made of the same stuff. The same miracle takes place in something as small as a candle's lamp, or as brilliant as the sun. Light is a unique creation by our Father in heaven. Okay. If you don't like science, kind of take a break and come back to me later, all right? I'm coming back to that. Light is the only element in all of creation that is both a particle, which has mass, and it is also complete energy. 100% solid particle and 100% pure energy. The laws of physics says you can't do that. But light is. Light does those very same things. Light is both a particle, it is also a wave of energy. Now, you know what a wave of energy is. You've seen these little charts that do this. That's a wave. All right? Well, when you put on sunglasses, how many of you have polarized sunglasses? Polarized sunglasses? What they've done is they've taken strips and they've barred light from passing through except between the little slots. All right? You know how that is? You take a polarized and you can only see part of the light that's just coming between the grooves. So in theory, you should be able to take polarized glasses this way and nothing would get through, right? Except it doesn't happen. Because waves can go this way or they can go this way, but light goes in waves like this. It's the only wave that goes in circular motion. So you can't block it by putting barriers in front of it to protect your eyes. That's why those special glasses have to be done for an eclipse, because sunlight is so intense, it can actually burn you straight through polarized glasses. Light is so much fun because it's the speedometer by which we measure every other single thing in the universe. We measure how large the universe is by counting out the numbers of years it takes particles and waves of light to arrive in our world, in our vision. It's the speedometer. It's the measuring stick for everything. It is both our illumination and it is also our destruction. Since 1992, I've lived in Florida. I love being in Florida. As a rule, not that I'm not going to don't love Kansas, but I'm saying, I like being in Florida because the sun makes my skin healthy. I have psoriasis, and that helps me to stay clear because the sun helps make my skin and my body healthy. It also gives me skin cancer. So every once in a while I have to go in and say, okay, cut off all the bad stuff and leave the rest. Because it's light. Light is an amazing, powerful source. There are so many different things that you can do. The very same light that you would have on candlelight service, and it seems so small, it takes all of us holding a candle on Christmas Eve candlelight service to light up the room. We'll turn the lights off and we'll just use candles to light up the room. They seem so small. But it's the very same element that you can use to be a laser that would shoot all the way to the moon, and it's so tightly compacted, it would only make a spot on the moon 3 feet across. Amazing, the power of light. But Jesus wasn't referring to lasers. And he wasn't referring to measuring how far the galaxy was from the Milky Way and the planet Earth. He was talking about the illustration of God's power and authority in our lives. He was talking about who we are. When Jesus was taken to the temple, Zechariah was there. Not Zechariah. Simeon was there and took the baby and said, this is going to be a baby that reveals the heart of mankind. Reveals the heart of mankind. If I had my flashlight up here right now and I shone it in your direction, first of all, you'd cover your eyes because that's bright. All right, even with my burned out batteries, you'd say, that's too bright for my eyes. But you'd either want to come closer or you'd want to go away farther from the light. Jesus realized that when people saw him and heard him and listened to him, they were going to have that same reaction. There was going to be that impulse inside of us to either say, wow, what he is saying is exactly what I need. I've got to hear more of this. And they came closer to be able to appreciate and learn more of what he was doing. And there were those who, the closer he got and the stronger his light became, the more they retreated into the shadows. They didn't want anything to do with it. Jesus said, it's because their hearts were evil. They didn't want to be revealed for who they were as sinful people. And so they pulled back away from his light. I want you to do a little bit of a gut check, if you could, please. Humor me for a little bit this morning. And say to yourself, do I really love this Jesus guy? Do I really love this man who came in the strangest way to this earth? He lived the strangest life, the most peculiar fellow. I mean, they hit him, they beat him, they said all kinds of bad things, and he never fought back. What a strange character. He just took it all. He said the strangest things. He said, love your enemies. And he said things like, even the ungodly heathen love their friends and hate their enemies. But I tell you, hate those. You just can't hate those. You can't hate, you just has to stop hating. Even your enemies. You can't, it's just not in God's plan. Even those that are pounding your flesh to the cross. Do you love this guy who held children in his arms and blessed them? Or do you find the whole thing revolting? Do you like the fact that he took people who were outcast to society and he loved them? He put his hand on sick people. Ooh, and they didn't have antibiotic hand washes afterwards. No Clorox wipes. But it was okay. He took people that you and I would disapprove of every single time we were confronted with them. No, you can't do that. That Zacchaeus is a traitor. He is despicable. We hate him. There's nothing about him that was positive. He's a thief. He's a robber. He has betrayed us as a people. And you want to go home and have lunch with him? Jesus was the strangest guy you will ever meet. And we either look at him and go, wow, I have to know more about him. I have to know what drives him. I have to know why he did these things. Or we say, forget him. That's what Jesus said people's response to him was going to be. There's going to be people, and we can't tell from one day to the next who it's going to be. So we can't predict. We're terrible prophets when it comes to that. But God's Spirit is working inside of people, and at one time or another, they're going to listen to the message of Jesus Christ, and they're going to go, yeah, I need to know more. I want to have a part of that. Or they're going to say, no, anybody that follows that kind of a guy is a stranger to me. I don't want any part of it. And we have to love every one of them anyway, no matter what their decision is. Because you know what? People change. Their hearts change. Nicodemus came to Jesus early in his ministry, and I think he was turned off. I think he was, you offend me with what you say. You turn me off with what you try and teach. It's unpleasant to listen to you. But slowly his heart was changed, and we find him up on the ladder, prying loose the nails and allowing Jesus' body to be lowered from the cross and put into the tomb. Something changed. Listen to me. The light is the most powerful element in the world. There's nothing like it. It's the only element that can take care of all of the different needs that are required. It can power our planet. We can put out solar panels and unplug from the net. Or, if we leave it unattended, can become a destructive weapon that can just wipe us out. You see, light is so unique and so special, we have to handle it carefully. If you look into the lens of my flashlight, it can burn the retina of your eye. Do I want that for you? No. So I have to be careful where I shine it. You notice I didn't shine it in your face? The children's chat? I don't want it to damage you. But when we talk about the light, God's light is so amazing that it does no harm. I have to do one more thing here before I finish. There are several things that show us what God's light is like. On the Mount of Transfiguration, when Jesus took Peter, James, and John up on Mount Tabor and was praying while they were taking a short nap, Moses and Elijah came and spent time with Jesus, helping him to get ready for the trip to Jerusalem and his ultimate death and sacrificial life for us. And when the disciples woke up and saw Jesus, in each one of the three synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they described the light that they saw covering Jesus and what he looked like in his radiance. And each one of them says something different, as bright as the sun, like a flash of lightning. I mean, brighter than any light we've ever seen before, and yet it did not burn their eyes. It did not harm them. When the Apostle Paul was knocked off his donkey on the road to Damascus, there was a light so bright that enveloped him and all of his companions that it completely overwhelmed everyone that was in that little band. It was the light of Jesus Christ. And while Paul's eyes were scaled over and he was unable to see for a few days, that light coming from heaven is the kind of light that we're going to have in heaven itself. Book of Revelation says there is no sun in heaven. I don't know whether you realize that or not, but every light that we have, every light source we have here on earth, casts shadows. I could have put my hand up and done finger puppet shadows on the wall with my flashlight. Because every light source has to come from a specific place, and it will cast a shadow. Not in heaven. Not God's light. Because the book of Revelation says that Jesus Christ is going to be the light in heaven. And that light is very unique. It doesn't come from an individual location. It fills every space. It covers every square inch of the entire realm of God's glory. And there is not any way you can stand in one place and cast a shadow, a darkness, anywhere in heaven. It is a unique kind of light. Because there is not the slightest darkness in God's kingdom. I want you to stop and ask yourself, if God came to you right now, and he showed himself to you, if he did like Isaiah in the 6th chapter we were sharing in the advisory council, and the room is filled with the presence of God and the light comes in on us, what would your reaction be? What would your reaction be? Isaiah said, "Oh my goodness, I am as good as dead," when he saw the Lord and the glory of the Lord. "Oh my goodness, I'm done for. I'm an unclean man. I have unclean words. I have unclean thoughts. I am among a people that just do unclean things. I'm good as dead." God can't love somebody who's imperfect, who's flawed, who's sinful, who've turned their back on him. And then the same Lord who appeared to Isaiah sent an angel with a coal from the offering, and he touched Isaiah's lips and said, "Now it's all been taken away. It's all been cleansed. It's all been forgiven." See, that's what God's light does. It may cause us to be paralyzed with fear, but it's always with the intention of purifying and cleansing us and removing every stain from us so that we can, for the first time, ever know what it feels like to be completely clean. Back in the days before aerosol deodorants and all the other kinds of things, First nice day of springtime, people would get out, open up their houses, open up their doors and windows, take all the carpets, take all the furniture, set it out in the sunshine, and beat the daylights out of it, and just let the sun bathe everything. You know why? Because when the sun comes in, it cleanses from all those bugs and all those viruses and all those bacteria and all those things we've been coughing and wheezing all winter long with. And we can take things back into our lives and be healthy again. Because the light purified our homes. Would you bow with me for a moment of prayer together? Dear Jesus, you are the light of life. You're the truth that came. You are the way. You are the one who's guiding us, directing us to live for you, to accept you into our hearts. We ask, Lord, that you will take this lesson of the light and you'll quiet the fear and the apprehension. Does he really love me? Is the light going to burn me? Is it going to torture me? Is it going to poison me? Is it going to harm me in some way? And reassure us that it is always for our benefit. It is to show your love to us that the light comes to the world. At Christmas time, with the starlight guiding them to the stable, with the light of the angels in the fields behind Bethlehem, in all of the things that you did to show us that this divine baby had come to earth to save everyone, to give everyone a hope of the love and grace of God. We ask, Lord, that as we look at the story of the light and how amazing and awesome and unique and special and powerful it is, that you will give us a chance to say, I want to know more. I want to accept what you've got for me. I want to be clean. I want to be healthy again. And we'll commit ourselves to following you and letting your love light shine in our hearts. This little light of mine, I want to let it shine. The light that you have placed inside of us, I want to shine all over Overland Park. And I want it to be unable to be extinguished by any force so that we can bring glory to your holy name.